Here we are. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate the participation from many of you marketers in franchising. Today's webinar is Marketing Innovation with Impact. And I'm excited to be moderating this particular program, especially with our panelist guests today. Before we get started, I thought I'd introduce myself. My name's Therese Thilgen. I am the co-founder and CEO of Franchise Update Media. For those of you that don't know us, for 32 years, we've been a leader in providing relevant content to franchisors, franchisees, and prospects. And our reach is delivered across multiple platforms, those being conferences, print, our magazines, and digital properties. So we're going to get started with our program, and as we know, driving brands to the next level is job number one of all franchise marketing leaders. And I think we can all agree that never before has the need for mastery of data, creativity, guest experience been so intertwined in leading brand development. As a 32-year-old brand, we recognize why innovation is so important. Simply put, innovation is the creation of new value. I hope our panelists agree with me. More importantly, the goal of innovation is to bring the idea to a productive position, today that being marketing innovation. I am very, very pleased and honored to introduce to you our two panelists, both distinguished leaders in the marketing innovation arena, and they're going to share ideas and lessons learned from their successes in driving their brands to leading positions in their particular industries. We have Doug Zarkin. Doug is Vice President and Head of Marketing for Pearle Vision, and he will share his journey and results from leading the transformation of the brand's global strategic marketing and retail experience. We then have Rich Hope, who is Chief Marketing Officer for Jersey Mike Subs. He'll share the innovative approach his team takes on multiple fronts, from philanthropy to cutting-edge technology. So I thought I would start with Doug. Doug, you want to tell us a little bit more about you and your brand, and then jump into your presentation, please.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me, and welcome to everybody who's tuned in. It's interesting. Being in franchising, it makes it very hard to explain to my dad what I do, because marketing inherently is one of those disciplines that continues to evolve and I think continues to be misunderstood. My career journey really started on the agency side out of graduate school, moved to the client side out of a desire and a passion to control and understand the why, not just the what, and spent a fair amount of time within the beauty and fashion industry at organizations like Avon and Victoria's Secret, and joined Luxottica about 7 years ago as part of a revamped leadership team to really help Pearle Vision regain its leadership position. And it's interesting that today's webinar is really focused on the notion of innovation, because as I think about the Pearle Vision story, the narrative, the in innovation needs to stand for insight. And as I think about our journey from buy one, get one free brand to truly best in class, it's really been driven by insight and understanding, appreciation of not just what our customers and patients need and want, but truly what's going on in their mind, what they desire in order to form that most critical trust barrier. So let's go to the next page and let me sort of set the situation. And when you look at this chart, you see that Pearle Vision is stuck in the middle of a 2x2, which is the death spiral for any brand. And it's not to be misunderstood that doesn't mean that you can't be successful. Pearle Vision, when I joined the business in 2012, was still achieving positive comps, was having some slow growth, but you really can't accelerate your business, especially in a competitive marketplace like optical retail, without clarity as to what you stand for. And it's not surprising that the very first email that I received on my very first day at Pearle Vision from then the president of our Franchise Advisory Council was a very short email that basically said, "Dear Doug, welcome to Pearle Vision. I hope you suck less than the last person who had your job." And it's interesting because as I began the journey, I could have either ran away from material life after getting that email, cried, or recognized, which I hope that we did, that we had a tremendous opportunity to think differently. And that different thinking really had to start with where, as a brand, we stood within the optical retail category. Interesting enough, to go forwards, we had to go backwards. And so in looking at the situation, we recognized that the brand had had 5 different brand propositions in 8 years, which means that you were trying to stand for everything, which means inevitably that you stood for nothing. And so in charting the path ahead, we had some really serious decisions to make. You know, marketing at its core is about positioning, and positioning at its core is about the art of sacrifice. And so we had to ask ourselves, you know, if we were going to be a brand that stood for something, did we want to go head-to-head with the larger optical retailers? You know, even if we could we win from a share of voice perspective? You know, one of the blessings and a curse of being in a franchise business is that your marketing budget is predetermined by whatever royalty stream that you are setting forth in your franchise agreement. Where was the greatest source of growth in this category? You know, that's a question we had to ask ourselves. So we had to be a bit of futurists and really see the forest through the trees as to where the category was going. And then we had to ask ourselves, where we could win, how did that relate back to the DNA of our brand? Because inevitably, if you're going to stand for something, you have to be able to defend it. And so as we go to the next page, the journey forward really did require us to take a step backwards. And, you know, I was fortunate when I joined the business to be given a copy of Dr. Stanley Pearle's biography. Unfortunately, Dr. Stanley Pearle passed away about 2 years before I joined the brand. But in reading his book, and most importantly, talking to those franchisees within the Pearle system that he knew, that he hired, that he trained, it was very clear that there was a deep-rooted belief system, that Pearle started with a best-in-class doctor, with that unmatched commitment to care, combining it with the best-in-class product assortment, both frames and lenses, to serve that local community, to earn the trust, to become that neighborhood destination that people trusted with their eye care and eyewear needs. And when we looked at all that, we recognized that in that philosophy was truly a very definitive, clear brand positioning, which is genuine eye care from your neighborhood doctor. The hardest sentence to ever write in a brand's story is its brand position. You'll notice in this brand positioning there is no word "and," because "and" doesn't mean that you're sacrificing. You'll notice in this brand positioning, it's in the possessive tense, your, which meant inherently we wanted to be a brand that was personal, that was about people caring for people. You'll notice that the brand positioning has the word genuine in it. That's more than just a tone. That's a way of doing business. And so every single word, every single part of this brand position started to deliver anchor points for us to move forward. But that path forward required us holistically to embrace the notion that we weren't going to drive this business through aggressive deals and promotion, that we were going to drive the business forward through an emphasis on care. And so as we go to the next page, I want to share with you a video that really summarizes the journey for how we've really accelerated and really propelled Pearle back into the top of the leadership category within optical retail.
Why would Pearle Vision launch a campaign with a film about a boy who doesn't need glasses? Let's start from the beginning. People tend not to trust chain eye care brands, and why should they? When the category has become obsessed with promotions, prices, and out-discounting each other. What people really put their trust in is other people. That's why, when they're looking for eye care, they think about their smaller local doctor first, rather than a national brand. Our challenge was a big one. Win back trust by proving we're more like the local doctors than the national brand. How? By getting rid of promo talk like buy one, get ones, and start showing the way we care for our patients. The film we created to launch the campaign focused on one tiny human and the small thing that mattered to him the most, a unique pair of glasses. It isn't just about vision. It's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearle. Ben didn't need a prescription. He needed care. And that got people talking. And crying. But that was just the beginning. We seeded the film with family and health influencers to ensure we were able to connect with people in places where they were emotionally present. We got the people of Pearle Vision on local talk shows discussing important eye care issues while humanizing our brand. And we made sure every piece of work we created was inspired by real human connection, from word of mouth to native articles, right down to banner ads and social posts. We also invited people to participate in the conversation by asking them to share their real-life moments of care and connection. They shared some really powerful stories. It was more than an advertising campaign. It helped the brand become recommitted to the values it was founded on, to be neighborhood eye doctors who care deeply about every single patient. Pearle Vision leadership even led a summit to inspire every one of their members to put connection and care back into the heart of everything they did, and expanded a program to help Pearle Vision be in the center of community outreach events, spreading our message of eye care out into the world. And guess what? It worked. The campaign helped us win back the trust we deserve and got consumers to see us as people who care about other people. And that's how we put the care back in eye care, because nobody cares for eyes more than Pearle.
Great. Well, success number one is that the video worked within the webinar, so that's always wonderful. It's interesting. It worked on a number of levels. It worked mainly because, if you think about, the F in franchising, the F in franchising stands for feelings. And in our category in particular, there is such a deep-rooted emotional connection that is formed between a patient and their doctor. We firmly believe at Pearle that trust between our eye care experts, both in the exam room and the retail floor, is earned through a series of small moments of connection where we end up becoming a guide to that patient to find that perfect pair. It's not about selling them glasses, it's about guiding them through a solution. And so what's wonderful when you're recognized by Entrepreneur Magazine, when consumers tell you that you are the #1 optical retail brand for doctor quality, when you get the recognition from your peers for great creativity, great strategic marketing plans. But I think the greatest compliment that I can share that's come out of the work that we have done really gets back to at the heart of what a brand is. And so when I think about our brand and the experience that we deliver in its simplest form, it really is nothing more than a group of people committed to a shared intent and a set of beliefs. And I'm proud to say that Pearle Vision today is a system, a franchisor and a franchisee that truly have a commitment to a shared intent and a shared belief. And that belief is in that every person in the neighborhoods in which we own and operate an eye care center deserve genuine eye care. Because at the end of the day, just like the tagline says, nobody cares for eyes more than Pearle.
Excellent. Doug, thank you. I've never heard F in franchising stands for feelings. And you are right on there. You don't mind if we use that?
There's a royalty charged. It's franchising. There's a royalty. The R in franchising stands for royalty. So absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you. And keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, if you have questions for Doug after our next presentation and panel discussion, please send them to us. I would now like to introduce our next speaker, Rich Hope, CMO of Jersey Mike's. Welcome, Rich.
Well, thank you, Therese. Thank you very much. Thank you, Doug. Excellent insight from you. So just a little bit about Jersey Mike's subs, if you go to the first slide there. First of all, I've been around the brand for quite a while. I had an ad agency for 23 years and met Peter Cancro, the founder and CEO of Jersey Mike's, back in 1991 when the brand only had 30 stores. So I've seen a lot of growth. So the brand was founded. It's an authentic brand that started from a single sub shop in Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey. It started in 1956, and Peter Cancro began working there when he was 14 years old in 1971. And at the age of 17, the sub shop went up for sale, and Peter was able to convince his Pop Warner coach to lend him the money. He was a banker, to underwrite the loan and loan him the money to buy the sub shop. So at age 17, at 1974, Peter Cancro, before he could even legally operate a slicer, was the owner of the original Jersey Mike subs, which was called Mike Subs at the time. He expanded a little bit, opened a few more shops, around the shore area of New Jersey, and then in 1987 began franchising. And it was very slow growth over many years, but says we have 1,550 stores there in 47 states. We started out today with 1,561. And we open stores on Wednesdays, so I believe we opened 5 today. So we're up to 1,566 after today being open. So had quite a lot of growth in the last few years. Our brand, if you go to the next slide, really, it's based on our product. That we have a really high quality product. We have an interactive in-store experience. If you haven't been in the Jersey Mike's, where we prep right in front of the customer, everything is fresh made in front of the customer, fresh sliced, and we fresh grill our cheesesteak. So very fresh product, fresh prepped produce every morning, from whole products. So whole heads of lettuce, whole tomatoes, et cetera, are sliced every single day. Bread is baked. So we have a high quality, fresh product, which seems to have served us very well over many, many years and still remains kind of in vogue in terms of freshness and fresh preparation and that experience of preparing right in front of the customer. We've had a very, very good run over the last 6 or 7 years. We were the fastest growing sandwich brand, now 6 years running, according to Nation's Restaurant News. The first 3 of those years, we were actually the fastest growing restaurant brand. And this year, we were honored to be ranked number 9 on that Entrepreneur Magazine's Franchise 500, which really is quite an honor. We jumped a lot of spaces this year to get up into the top 10 with brands like McDonald's, Wendy's, and Dunkin' Donuts. So we were very, very proud of that. Our brand and our positioning, we've been using a sub above. Again, it's the obvious application there would be to apply that to our product. But really, a sub above means more than just our product. We try to use that as a rallying cry with our franchisees, right down to our crews and our stores, to kind of set the bar very high. And one of the bars that was set very, very early in the going by Peter Cancro himself is our very, very strong culture of giving. And it's interesting when you think about the sub above and positioning ourselves as kind of the leader in our sandwich category, the sub sandwich category. It draws on not only our history which includes our culture, which I'll talk about in a second. But the other part of that has been trying to remain forward-thinking, even though we're an authentic brand that had real roots and started in a real store. It's not made up. It's real. So the tendency is to fall back on the history, which we've done a really good job at not compromising our history and our products, et cetera. But the other part of that, which I'll cover in a few minutes on the technology end, is that forward thinking and being able to stay ahead with technology. So getting to our culture of giving, really, it was established by our founder, Peter Cancro, way back in the original store when he bought it in the 70s. And he drew on the example of two local merchants specifically that he mentions over and over again whenever he's addressing franchisees or industry groups, et cetera. He names these people by name. One is Bob Hoffman, who had a small ice cream shop in Point Pleasant Beach, and the other is Jack Baker, who owned a seafood restaurant in town, the Lobster Shanty. And these two merchants, they gave to the community just for everything. They were supporting the first aid squad. They were giving to the local school. They would support Pop Warner. Everything in the community. They were very, very community-based. And right from the very beginning, Peter said, that's the way I want to run. That's the way I want to run my store. I want to be involved in the community. I want to give as much as I can to the people that support my store, and I want to be part of the fabric of the community. And that's been instilled in really the culture of Jersey Mike's and in our franchisees. It's part of the deal when you become a Jersey Mike's franchisee that you buy into this culture of giving. The franchisees have followed the lead unbelievably and really started to activate this whole culture of giving on their own in several different markets in the early 2000s. And they would have small groups of franchisees to get together and support local charities, as Peter Cancro always did. And it was great, but it was in different markets in different times of the year. I came on as CMO in 2010, and the first thing I said was, we're doing all this giving all around the country, and we're not getting as much credit as we deserve for that, and people don't know us as such a giving company. So we worked in that first year to really bring everyone together to get all of those events in the same month and to have a day of giving on the same day nationally, where franchisee groups around the country could select a local charity to support within their market. And that's a formula that we've stuck with now for 9 years, and essentially it is our customers are invited to come in during the month and support their local charity by donating to that cause. And then on the last Wednesday, if we can go to the next slide, the last Wednesday of the month is our day of giving. And that's when our franchisees step up and donate 100% of that day's sales to the local charity. I don't know of any other brands that do anything like this. There's a lot of people that give 20% of the day's proceeds or 50%, but to reach into your pockets and give 100% of your sales for that day is, I think, a pretty extraordinary thing. And it just shows how strong this culture has become throughout Jersey Mike's now. It's the busiest day of our year. It has been for the last 5 years in a row. It's by far been our busiest day of the year by record-setting days. It's been unbelievable how many people have come in to support this cause and buy a sub, knowing that all the proceeds will go to the local charity. Really, the amazing thing is that not only the franchisees are happy on that day, the crews, while they're going to be working probably the hardest they work on any day of the year, are so enthused to be able to be part of this day, part of our culture, part of giving and supporting, local causes, that it truly is a day where the energy in the store is incredible. I'm fortunate enough to be able to go to a few stores that day and have spent, time in stores around the country on the day of giving. And the energy and enthusiasm in the store is just unmatched any other day of the year. So the other thing that is part of that culture is we start right from the beginning with grand openings. So every store that we open partners with a local charity where we give out free subs with a card, a little grassroots card that we hand out, free sub with $1 donation to that local charity. And sometimes we partner with schools or any type of local charity, but it's an individual store that is giving away products for the first 3 days of the opening in order to help support a local charity. So we start with that. So that's a little bit about our culture of giving. As I said, that's very much from the heart, and it's an emotional thing, and it's something that has really rallied our franchisees together in a really extraordinary way. And the flip side of that coin has really been what I'm calling here the tech race. And that is just the ongoing need to develop technology and continue to redevelop technology and stay ahead of the curve. It's been a rapid growth in technology, as we all know, over the last, say, 10 to 15 years. Things have changed dramatically, and keeping up with that has been one of our top priorities to try to stay ahead. So I just put together a little timeline here to give you an idea of how we've progressed and how we continue to progress. And what I want to stress here is not necessarily the milestones that we've reached, but the idea that technology is an ongoing battle and something that really never ends. Everything changes constantly. So way back in 2004 is when we really started to view technology as an important part of the restaurant industry. And we launched our first POS in all the stores that we had then, which I think was about 500 maybe. And we developed it with a third party, so it was semi-proprietary, but it was able for the first time to connect all of our stores, through a POS system, and have us the ability to know what sales were, the next day we knew what the sales were the day before. Actually, hourly, you'd be able to check on the sales. So that was the first really launch into technology. By 2006, we were able to have a full back of the house component where franchisees could then go on and view their sales for their store in real time as well. We continued to push ahead with marketing. That was really our next push with technology. And we launched an email club in 2007. And then with a third-party partner, launched online ordering in 2009, which was quite a bit ahead of the curve at the time. Not many restaurants had online ordering in 2009. It was really just starting to emerge at that point. That was also the year that really changed everything in our technology race, and that was when we had started, right after we had the other POS launch in 2004, we started developing our own proprietary POS system in-house. And more than just a POS, it's really a data warehouse, and we began to gather an enormous amount of data on all of our customers and storing that data. And at that time, really, it was mostly just collecting and storing because no one knew exactly what to do with it. Right around 2010, we were able to launch the Jersey Mike's Behind the Counter, which is a complete portal for our franchisees that had, marketing, training, and operations data at their fingertips. So again, technology reaching out to our franchisee base in order to try to help them do their jobs better. And then in 2011, which really I think was a tipping point for technology for us, we started for the first time our electronic loyalty program, our Short Points loyalty program, and included text messaging in that. And found that marketing, being able to text message people was a very, very powerful way to market to a group of loyal customers. And we've been able to grow that loyalty program now to over 10 million people are in our loyalty program. And it's an incredibly important program because between 45 and 50% of our sales every single week come through that loyalty program, where people are, earning rewards and putting in their loyalty program as a loyalty number as they come up to buy their sub. So that's been incredibly powerful for us. If you can go to the next slide, please. And finally, in 2012, and it's hard, you look at this timeline, and it's hard to believe how long ago 2004 was in terms of technology and how much has happened just in the last 15 years or so. 2012, we finally launched our first online ordering app, and again, that was with the help of a third party. So we tried to keep ahead of the race. We have a fairly robust in-house department with around 30 people in it, and that's grown over the last few years. But we've used third party to try to stay ahead of technology and eventually try to develop the technology ourselves and bring it in-house. And that's kind of been our MO with technology. So we had our first online ordering app in 2012. 2014, we put in customer-facing terminals, which help us market in-store as well. And then in 2016, we were able to bring online ordering completely in-house. We had our second app, and this time the app not only had online ordering in it, but was able to have our electronic loyalty program now, which you used to have to, either put in your number or swipe a barcode and go online to check your points, et cetera. Now that was all housed within the same app that had our online ordering, and you could earn points when you online ordered. So it really kind of brought that whole thing together. And again, we continue to push. Things like mobile pay came out in 2017, Apple Pay, Google and Android Pay, et cetera. The one thing that we kind of dragged our feet on, and we've tried to be deliberate with technology, and it's really easy to make mistakes and to try to move really, really fast. And the faster you move, the more likely you are to make a mistake as things change so quickly. So the one thing that we kind of lagged behind on a little bit was EMV, and that's the chip on your credit card. And we were very, very concerned at the beginning that, and as you can recall, when it first came out, it was incredibly slow compared to swiping a credit card. And we were very concerned it was going to slow down our line. So we avoided that. We avoided that for many years and waited to the speed of EMV was able to get up to the speed that we needed on our line. So we just launched that in 2018. We continue to push with technology now with third-party delivery. We've already integrated with our POS system with Uber and DoorDash and plan to do so with Grubhub and Postmates as well. And then the next thing on that would be white label delivery, where we contract with a third-party delivery company so when customers go to our website, they can choose to pick up or deliver and have that seamlessly done through a third party where our customers don't necessarily know that it's coming from a third party. It's just showing up their house from Jersey Mike's. So that's something that we continue to push on. And are developing right now our third app, which is our new improved app, which will have many added features. And we're using a third party for that right now and continue to push. And then in 2020, a completely new and revamped POS system, which will be faster, better, be able to store data better, and be able to serve our franchisees even better in terms of back-end data that they can collect, and access as well. So again, the thing here is that this tech race is an ongoing race that will continue. It doesn't end in 2020. It'll continue for the foreseeable future and probably forever. So those are the two strategies that we've tried to use and bring together. One very much from our culture and history, and the other one more forward thinking to try to keep our brand on the forefront.
Rich, thank you. I'm blown away by your day of giving. A quick question before we get into our panel discussion. For you, do all of your franchisees participate?
Yes, we have 100% participation. It's voluntary. It's something that our franchisees look forward to, believe it or not. It's something that we've talked about ending at some point. Our franchisees, I don't think, will let us now. It's really become part of who we are.
Congratulations on that piece. That's really amazing. Okay, so let's move on to our panel discussion. Questions now that are coming up are I'm going to address to both of you, and it's right here in front of us. So what do each of you see as the biggest challenge in getting traction with your initiatives, and then how did you overcome them?
So I'll jump in. This is Doug, guys. Hi, everybody. I think in any franchise system, there has to be a journey that is willingly took. And willingly doesn't necessarily mean without a degree of reluctancy. But, a leader without followers is just a guy standing on top of the mountain. And I think in any franchise system, trying to sort of break the paradigm of that emotional conversation to rational discussion is incredibly hard. It is impossible to have a rational conversation with an emotional person. And franchising, as I mentioned before, is a very emotionally driven business model. It is fueled by people with an entrepreneurial spirit. So in our case, you really had to recognize that for many years, the business wasn't necessarily led with the degree of stewardship that is the responsibility of the franchisor. If you're paying a royalty, you're buying into a system, and that system is a set of beliefs. And so we had to earn the trust. Simply put, we had to earn the trust. And there's two ways to earn trust. Somebody can either trust you, and you can satisfy that trust by proving that that was well given, or trust is something that takes a while to earn. And so we had many franchisees that frankly were skeptical because we were putting a degree of structure into a business model that frankly needed it but wasn't necessarily present. How did we overcome it? Very simple. We were consistently consistent. The worst thing you can do in a franchise business model is to change direction, change focus year after year. I think one of the worst things you can do in marketing is believe because you've done it well once that you've done it, period. In our business, you have people that are cycling in every 12 to 24 months. And so unless it was your birthday, your anniversary, kid's birthday special event, you can't tell me where you went to dinner 12 months ago. Trying to get somebody to recognize why they trusted Pearle Vision with their eyes a year and a half ago without being consistent in your messaging and thorough in your marketing is a death sentence. And frankly, that's why brands in our category rely so heavily on promotion, is because they haven't established the gravitas of a well-defined brand and a well-defined experience. We needed to put all of those guideposts and guardrails into place to allow the franchisees to emotionally believe, to make that emotional decision, to therefore make the rational choice to comply. And the results took time, but the results are there. We have essentially eliminated big brand promotions from our marketing mix and have been able to drive significant comp growth accordingly. Why? Because we have really leaned into a very strong value equation, value being experience over price. People know they're getting an amazing experience at Pearle. Therefore, they're willing to pay a price that reflects that. When brands don't deliver top-line experience, they have to sacrifice bottom-line revenue. And so we've been able to shift that paradigm through consistency, through commitment, but also through really an emotional connection with our franchisees.
Thank you, Doug. Rich, would you like to jump in on this question?
Sure. In terms of our culture and the giving aspect of our brand, first of all, I think that that's the biggest challenge is getting buy-in, right? As Doug said, that's something you want. You want everyone to believe in something. You don't want them just to do it because they have to. You want them to do it because they want to. And we've been able to really, through leading by example, Peter Cancro is very generous and supportive of our franchisees. He usually puts extra advertising dollars in. He helps struggling franchisees when they need it. We really believe in no store left behind. We try to keep everybody in business and profitable. So he's led by that example of giving. So that makes the franchisees obviously buy into it. And we've been very, very selective with getting franchisees. It's not easy to become a Jersey Mike's franchisee. We turn down many more people than we take. And one of our barometers is the type of person that franchisee is and whether they're interested in helping their community and whether that's a priority to them. So really, just by leading by example and then just trying to be very selective in terms of our franchisee base.
Thanks, Rich. Let's move to the next question. So Doug, we'll start with you here. What was the most important thing your team did to ensure franchisee buy-in to your strategy?
So I think it's really twofold. The first thing is our brand hired an amazing leadership team. Brands are groups of people caring about other people, right? That belief system, that shared intent. you have to believe in the leadership in order to eventually believe in the vision. And so Pearle Vision is very fortunate, from product to operations to business development to public relations. We have a rock star leadership team. And that leadership team inspires confidence because of the second thing, which is in order to lead, you have to listen. When we began the journey of rejuvenating and reinvigorating the Pearle Vision brand, we took those steps backwards. We went and we met with our most tenured franchisees, and we had the humility to say, tell us what we're doing well, but also don't hold back. Tell us what we're not doing well. We interviewed a ton of what we call ex-girlfriends or ex-boyfriends, customers, patients, and frankly, franchisees that had fired us over the years. We wanted to understand where we were not filling their cup of joy, so to speak, as a franchisor. Learning those valuable lessons allowed us, with the rockstar leadership team that we have in place, to put in a very specific set of milestone points across every discipline to allow our franchisees to understand what success looks like. You know, it is impossible to drive franchisee approval if they don't know what success looks like. And success isn't always necessarily top line. In fact, anybody who knows anything about retail math knows that you can actually at times sell less and make more. And that's just by playing with your discount modeling. We had to explain to our franchisees the vision of Pearle, that we, in fact, weren't going to be a brand that was going to drive top-line growth at the expense of bottom-line profitability. And I can tell you that every member of the Pearle Vision leadership team, their number one objective is licensed operator profitability, franchisee profitability. Every decision we make has an eye to how it's going to impact the bottom line for those at the front line that carry the Pearle Vision name above their individual eye care center. So great people, great humility, and a leadership approach that begins with listening in order to eventually lead has really allowed us to put together a winning formula.
Thanks, Doug. How about you, Rich?
Well, I think that I don't know if I could point to one thing, one most important thing to ensure franchisee buy-in. I really feel like it takes time, and it takes strong execution and results to get, over time to get buy-in. So it's something that happens a little bit at a time, but then when it starts really, really happening and you get buy-in because you're getting results, because people's sales are up and their lives are better, so suddenly over time, they have more faith in you. And so we've been able to, fight that battle over many, many years. I've kind of seen a lot of it. As you grow and your brand becomes stronger and sales become better, then everyone is happier and buy-in is always easier. But it just really takes, lots of time and effort, I think, to get there.
Great responses from both of you. Thanks for sharing. Moving on to the next question, what surprised you the most during the execution of your strategy and plan? So we'll start with you again, Doug.
Wow. I think the thing that surprised me most was, as much as you hear that franchise systems are emotional and that, marketing in a franchise system on its best day is viewed as doing a good job. I've talked to a number of CMOs of other franchise businesses, and, it's very hard for franchise organizations to give marketing leadership credit. But I think what surprised me most was just the appreciation that came from our operators when they recognized that we were on their side. That in fact it really was one brand, it was one Pearle. The franchisee-franchisor relationship doesn't necessarily need to be adversarial. In fact, and I think the Jersey, the Day of Giving is a great example. When you create a culture, you then create a system that self-polices itself. And I think what has surprised me most was that as we have been able to move the brand forward, some of the more challenging initiatives that we've undertaken, both from a marketing as well as from a brand development perspective, our first group of supporters are our franchisees. When we want to talk to a prospective franchisee about coming on board, as amazing as our business development team is, it's really our existing franchisees that want to step up and talk about or preach the gospel of Pearle. when we talk about a marketing initiative, in many cases we're piloting things. We're letting our franchisees sort of do some of the heavy lifting, create that sense of advocacy. And I think in most franchise systems, standards and practices, guardrails and guideposts, compliance is always a challenge. It's wonderful when you get a call from a franchisee in a market where they actually police themselves. They recognize that the health and success of every DMA is predicated on the impact of the worst location in that DMA. You are as good as your worst location. And so if you ingrain that into the mindset of the franchisees in your system, they become your fiercest advocates. They become your fiercest supporters. They're the ones who call you and want you to exercise pressure and to some degree control on those that are non-compliant because they're dragging down the system. And again, it's about the system success. The system success allows everybody to win because the brand is able to reinvest royalties back into the business.
Doug, what type of franchisee advisory council, it's called many things depending on the system, do you have?
So formally we have an organizational group called the NFAC, the National Franchisee Advisory Council, that's made up of representatives elected by the franchisees to serve as the connection point between the community and the leadership team. However, I would tell you that one of the first things that I did, and I know many other leaders have done within the Pearle system, is we freely distributed our cell phone. And so it's not uncommon for franchisees to call any member of the leadership team, unfortunately, at any time of the day or night, and express concerns, give feedback, offer to advocate. So we have our formal NFAC structure, but we also have really maintained an informal line of communication. Our business consultants, as part of our operations team, are really another go-between, another contact point between the brand and the franchisee. Within the marketing organization, we have a field marketing group that also serves as a connection point. So communication, hearing from our franchisees is never an issue. It's really the opportunity that we take to listen and then from that effectively lead and drive them to growth.
Thank you. So, Rich, your turn.
Yeah, we have a National Advisory Council, very similar, elected by the franchisees by region, meet, 4 times a year with that group, and it changes every 2 years. It's a 2-year. We pretty much start with any initiative. We pretty much start with that group and put it by them first before it goes out to our area directors, which we have in every market, and then eventually to franchisees and crews. So, it's a very, very similar structure to what Pearle has.
Well, important. Does your leadership team give out all of your personal cell phone numbers?
Yeah, pretty much everybody has our pretty much everybody has our cell phone numbers. Yeah, that's very, very common to have franchisees call us at any time.
It strikes me with your culture that you would. Okay,
yeah,
gentlemen.
And you know what? We like to hear from them.
Right. So what advice do you have for other franchise leaders as they consider a more innovative approach to one of their brand's opportunities? And Rich, I'm going to throw it your way first this time.
Okay. Well, the first thing is that you have to be willing, I think, to take some risks, because you're not going to get where you need to go without taking some risks. Everyone likes a safe approach, and but they generally don't work as well. So I think risk taking is a very, very important thing in order to get your brand where it needs to go.
Thank you. Doug?
I go back to sort of what I said at the beginning. The word innovation has to be deeply rooted in insight. When looking for new and different without purpose or issue or opportunity, all you're doing is spinning wheels. Risk-taking is wonderful, but risk-taking when it solves an inherent need, want, or desire is meaningful. And so when we look at the innovation that we've brought within Pearle, it's always been deeply rooted in an insight that's come from the patient, an insight that's come from the franchisee, or an insight, frankly, that came from a parallel category that maybe is a step ahead or two steps behind. You know, you can often learn a lot from businesses that are behind you as much as you can from businesses that are ahead of you. In our case, you know, if you look at the pharmaceutical business, the consolidation and some of the growth in that category, they're probably 5 years ahead. You look at dental, it's probably 5 years behind. But, man, have we learned some amazing lessons from those dental practices about how to retain patients. And we've learned amazing things from the pharmaceutical business about how to maintain a national brand but still keep a local focus and feel genuine. So, again, going back to the fact that innovation has to start with insight.
So true. So true. And I am sure that both of you have had many innovative ideas thrown on the table and in all probability have made investments in those innovations to only learn that it wasn't right for your system. And Rich, I'd like you to comment on that.
Well, I think that's the biggest challenge with keeping up with technology is that you have to make decisions quickly. Things change incredibly rapidly, and it's easy to make a mistake, and you will. I mean, without a doubt. You know, so you'll go down the wrong road, and we've done that. We've done that a number of times along this timeline of milestones. Have been. I didn't put the failures in between those, but there's certain things that we've done, and the scary part of it is the investment that's involved. You can invest a good amount of money in trying to develop a certain type of technology, only to find that you could either be too far ahead or suddenly you're behind. One of the things that when we first launched our loyalty program, we put RFID in there, radio frequency, because we learned that cell phones were going to have it built in. So we were using little stickers on the back of cell phones, but we were far ahead of the technology in that case, and it failed because we were too forward thinking. So a lot of mistakes will be made along the way, and there's not a lot you can do about it, but trying to manage that and have a vision that you're really heading towards. Rather, that'll keep you on track from really, straying too far off in terms of, developing technology. Just keep your eye on the overall goal of what you're trying to accomplish.
Thanks, Rich. We've been in the media business for 32 years. When my husband and I started the business, we were typesetting our publications.
Sure.
And the publishing, computer-based publishing was just coming in to the equation. And we look back and it's just like, wow, there was no internet, so on and so forth. So we try and look ahead the best we can by studying, so many of the other individuals and companies that are in our space to see what they're doing, the ones that, are staying relevant, et cetera. So, gentlemen, we're down to our last 5 minutes. I'm going to provide a question to each of you. One last question, and I'm going to start with you, Doug. And this is a question I know we all have. I don't know who has the answer, but what impact are you seeing from online retailers like Amazon on your business?
It's interesting. One of the most pronounced buzz phrases, buzz questions that exist in anybody operating a brick and mortar business is that Amazon has killed retail. So here's the news flash. Amazon hasn't killed retail. Amazon has simply eliminated shitty retail. Amazon has enabled brands or required brands to put a mirror up to their face and really ask themselves, what is your retail reason for being? Do you have a defined experience that makes it worth it for somebody to get off the couch and visit your four-walled embodiment of your brand position, which is really what your retail destinations are? And are you delivering an amazing experience at retail? Frankly, I'm grateful for the energy and noise that some of the online players in optical retail have brought to the category. It's really just made us work that much harder it's allowed us to be that much more focused, and I think it's strengthened our commitment to do certain things really well. That group of certain things is rooted in our brand promise of genuine eye care. And so, again, across the business, when we have a franchisee who is trying to grow their business and they're focusing on, well, you know, Warby is taking this away from me, or Glasses.com is taking this away from me, the first place we go is, let's go back to what we can control. What is our reputation score? What is our NPS score? What is our conversion rate? Are we delivering an amazing patient experience? Are we caring about the people behind the eyes? And it's amazing that when you put that mirror up to the face of a franchisee, you end up finding out that the solution truly lies within what is controllable, which is your experience. So I'm grateful for what they do, and it actually is paying off for us in buckets.
Doug, that is very insightful and a very enthusiastic response to, you know, a big topic in the world today. So, Rich, last question for you. Tell us about the impact you're seeing from trends in delivery, either run by the brand or via third parties, such as your party, Uber Eats, your partner, Uber Eats.
Yeah. We're actually partnered now with all of the third-party delivery companies, and as I said, we're in the process of integrating them into our POS system. It's been interesting. It's been a learning curve, but ultimately, I think it's something that has really revolutionized our business, and in case of Jersey Mike's, really has helped us. So we're really happy about it. We have a large competitor who kind of hung their hat on delivery. So that's been able to neutralize that competitor for us in some ways. It has hurt the big delivery companies, third-party delivery. Domino's, for instance, has been on a run for like 10 years where they seem to walk on water. They can't do anything wrong. Their same-store sales continue to grow. And they've seen a slowdown from this competition, where they have competition from these third-party delivery companies. So it's leveled the playing field, I think, in a lot of ways. Customers are paying more for their food, and I don't know if they've completely figured that out yet, and if how much impact that's going to have. But it's great for us because it's a very, very large ticket. When somebody orders online, generally it's up in the $20, and our average ticket is $14. So it's a large ticket, and it's something that we've learned to integrate into our operations. So we're thrilled about it. Really, it's been very good for us.
We at our recent multi-unit franchising conference talked to a number of franchisees in the food business that own multiples. And without naming brands, there certainly are those that are very concerned about the cut it's taking to decrease their bottom line. And I know many brands are on the fence. Do we raise prices? How do we manage this? Because it's an expense we didn't have to incur before. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it seems to me that most people now are upcharging for food. So you're paying a little more for the food, plus you're paying for delivery in most cases. And it seems that the consumers are bearing that price without any issue right now. So I would recommend that you do that, is to make it. Then there's no reason not to do it. Then you want it even more. If you're losing money, if you're making less money on it, then that's an obstacle for franchisees. But if they can make the same on it, then they love it and they want to do it. So it seems to me that makes the most sense.
It's necessary. Depending on the business that you're in. Well, gentlemen, we're down to 1 minute. Thank you so much for all of your input. And I just want to wrap this up by thanking our sponsor for this particular webinar, that is Service Score. And for those of you that are not familiar with Service Score, they help businesses get the results they want from phone calls. And you can find information on Service Score at servicescore.net. A couple of reminders. Our Franchise Marketing and Leadership Conference is coming up June 18th to 20th. That will be held at the Intercontinental in Atlanta. Again, our keynote speaker is Duncan Wardle, and we're excited about him as a senior executive of creativity for the Walt Disney Company. He's not only going to give a keynote presentation, he's also going to join us in an interactive event. We did close out our best rates tomorrow, but we will be sending you an email so that if you're interested in attending, you can still get our great offer. We will have about 200 franchisors, CEOs, CMOs, and presidents in attendance. With that said, we also will be delivering our first annual franchise marketing benchmark survey that's ever been produced. You'll get results from that as well at the conference, in addition to our first Franchise Innovation Awards. So I'm 1 minute over. I need to sign off. Doug, Rich, thank you so much for your candor and your sharing and your time more than anything else. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.